Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow viewers, to the April 11th, 2021 council meeting. I call the meeting to order at 1 p.m. I'm asking council at this time if they have any added items to the agenda. Seeing none, I would ask for adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. And I will make the motion to adopt the regular and closed council meeting agenda for Monday, April 11th, 2022 at 1 p.m.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson is adopting the agenda as presented. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. No presentations and delegations for number 3. We'll move down to 4, business arising out of the minutes or unfit. Sorry, I'm just speeding down through here. Adoption of previous minutes, please, for the regular council meeting of March 28th, please. Yes, Councillor Blatz, and it's for 2022.
I move that the minutes from March 28th, 2022 regular council meeting be adopted as presented.
Any questions to the minutes? Errors or omissions? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 3, presentations and delegations. I see none. Is that correct? What am I hearing? Beeping. Moving down to item 4, business arising out of the minutes or unfinished business. Seeing none, we will move right down to bylaws. Item 5, page 10 of your agenda. Bylaw 2022-08, supplementary tax assessment bylaw. And I go to interim CAO Sheena.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. So today we're looking for a third reading of the supplementary tax assessment bylaw. This was presented to council and given first and second readings at the March 28th council meeting. And I would just open it up to any questions.
Thank you, and we'll go to Councillor Cummings.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions, if that's okay. I'm going to start with the first one here. I know you probably won't have the numbers off the top of your head, but I'm going to ask anyways. Is typically the cost of conducting a supplementary assessment on a property and the associated administrative costs recovered by the prorated tax applied?
So I don't have a breakdown of the associated administrative costs. It is, it's not administratively heavy to do. We do have to pay our assessor a little bit more to do the supplementary. And I quickly jotted down revenues we've received through the supplementary have ranged low end 4,400 up to 26,800. So there's no way to know in any given year what it will be before going into this, but that's just a range. So we do get more back than what we have to pay out.
Head Councillor Cummings.
Would you consider that a significant amount budgetarily?
No.
Sorry, I've got 2 more, if that's okay, unless somebody's just going to jump in here. So if it's not a significant amount of money, it's not required to do supplementary assessments in any way. And I don't know who would answer this question. It's more of a question or a comment out to all of council. Would council entertain the concept that a few months of no tax on an improvement may be an incentive for an owner to facilitate an improvement? And I'll explain what I mean by that. So if we have a factory in town, they want to build an additional building onto their property, they're going to do it in January. They're going to build that building in January, it's going to be finished construction in January, and we'll do normally, we would do a supplementary tax assessment on that and give them 11 months of tax on that additional facility that they built on their property. If we use that as a business incentive instead, we don't do a supplementary tax assessment on that expansion of their business, and we are thereby, in my opinion, promoting the expansion of business, which is something we I believe all want to see as a council, and giving them an 11-month tax break, which is an insignificant amount of money, unless we're talking, an acre-long building being built on somebody's property, which is not seen in Olds. By abandoning the idea of having a supplementary assessment bylaw for this coming year, we can use that as an encouragement for businesses to expand their businesses, develop more facilities that they're doing. I know we're seeing 3, I think we passed an MPC this year alone in the industrial park. And I would rather us see this as a incentive, a tax incentive, if you'd call it, just for a few months of an insignificant amount of money towards our budget, rather than nickeling, diming every business every time they try to expand.
Would you like to speak to that? No? What, do I have any, one that would like to speak? Counselor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I just have a question for interim CEO. Can you review again or explain to me the process around how the supplementary tax assessment works? You referenced you don't have the data relative to incremental revenues, tax revenues and so on. But how does that process work? Because obviously, every year, we do not individually assess every property with a site visit or anything. So how does this process work?
So the supplementary taxes would capture any improvements that were completed between January and August 31st of the current tax year. So normally when we send out taxes in May for the anything that was completed in the previous year. And it would have been done at, say a house was being built and it was 50% complete, we would be taxing them at 50%. If that house then was actually completed in, say, July, now we would capture the other 50% of that house.
Supplementary, Counselor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. So, right, so to me, there's a couple of different categories of improvements. You have a house, you have a shed, you have a garage, you have a secondary suite. Again, how does the town become notified of those improvements, whether it be business or residential? Is it through the building and development permit?
Yeah, sorry. Through planning and development, our assessor has access to all of the permit files.
Thank you.
Sorry, Counselor Blatz and then Counselor Daly.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. A comment and perhaps maybe a question. Well, Director or Interim CAO Linderman did answer part of my question regarding that this is not only just a business supplementary assessment, it is also residential. And I believe this is a common practice in other communities. And I want to remind everyone that revenue is revenue from whatever direction we get it. And so I am comfortable with passing such a bylaw at this point in time. It is only until August 31st that we do the supplementary assessment. So if anything was completed after that date, then it would not be included until the next tax year. So that was the comments that I had to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Blatz. Counselor Daly?
Thank you, Your Worship. Question to Interim CEO Linderman. The current practice now is that the taxes are not collected on a building permit until the project is completed. Is that correct? Or is it prorated now for the stage of construction that it's in?
So regular taxes are based on the stage of construction at December 31st. Then this supplementary, once it's complete, catches that rest of that.
Supplementary?
Go ahead, Counselor Daly.
Thank you. So if a developer or a homeowner was the applicant for the building permit, and it took that project 5 years to be completed, then we would be waiting 5 years for the 100% of the tax to come through. So they may actually hold the project at a certain percentage before they have to pay the full amount of taxes on it. And this would alleviate that from happening. Is that correct?
Correct, in theory, yeah. I don't know that people do that. I can't comment on that, but in theory, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good point made. Any further questions or comments in this regard? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. And I guess I'd pose a question either to Director Wagstaff or perhaps Director Greco. As members of the technical team, because I am enthused about incentivizing development in the town and encouraging growth, particularly on the business side. I would ask either of those two gentlemen what their thoughts would be. Does this represent a tool in the toolbox from your experiences relative to incentivizing growth? Is there enough of a prize there for a business owner or perhaps a resident that's building a secondary suite? I don't know.
Go ahead from the planning and operations perspective.
I mean, I don't know that it would have an effect on the operational aspect. If we're trying to get developers to develop, I mean, it's more of a system of making sure that we're open for business per se. So making sure that we have infrastructure ready for operations and developers to come in and develop. That certainly provides a good incentive for shelf-ready projects. So I don't think that this would necessarily be affecting that.
Yes, interim CEO and then Councillor Cummings.
I just wanted to comment quickly on the theory behind a supplemental tax. So it's to provide equity among property owners. So the theory is, of course, when you build a new home, a building, you connect and use municipal services. And then in the theory is that as soon as you're done, you start using those services, so you should start paying for those services. And that's the theory behind it.
Councillor Cummings?
Well, I'd like to address a couple of points that were brought up here. And one, I'm not concerned about the person building the garage, because let's be honest, the tax increase for building a garage is absolutely minuscule. What I'm talking about is the big ticket items. The gentleman or the business owner who's going to build an addition to their factory that's worth $5 million. That has a significant tax increase. That is what I'm talking about, those significant costs. No homeowner is going to delay the construction of their garage because they're going to save $5 in their municipal tax bill by having a supplementary tax bill bypass. That would be ridiculous to expect. But it is not ridiculous, I think, to expect $1 million addition to a factory, which we have seen this year already in 3 spots in the town of Olds. Through the MPC building permits, we've seen additions into 3 buildings in our local area here, where businesses are building very expensive property that is going to see a significant increase in their income tax or their property tax. And that's what I'm talking about incentivizing. To address Director Lindeman's, interim CAO Lindeman's idea that the balancing of services and stuff like that, well, first of all, we pay for our services in Olds. So if you're connected to water, you're paying for water. If you're connected to sewer, you're paying for sewer. That's not in our tax rate, correct?
I wasn't talking about those kinds of services. So roads
And stuff like that, right?
Parks, playgrounds, everything.
Which is a normal, correct me if I'm mistaken, because I'm not municipal government, it is normal for municipalities to incentivize businesses through this process. It is also normal to have a supplementary tax assessment bylaw. We have to choose as a council whether or not we believe that incentivizing our businesses by giving them a tax break, even a few months tax break, on their expansions of their facilities is worth the loss in the revenue of a few dollars here and there. For them to do that. We've talked to Sandra Blythe, our Economic Development Officer, several times. She's agreed that incentivizing like this is not the highest priority on her list, but it is on her list of things to do. And if we want to take economic development seriously, this is something that we need to look at as a process of incentivizing our businesses. Clouding the issue with garages and decks and whatnot is in my opinion, irrelevant, because the value there is just so insignificant even to the homeowner, it's insignificant.
Thank you, Councillor Cummings. Councillor Blatz has a question, but I would also like to add that I like the discussion around the table, but this is a real surprise to our staff. And I think in all fairness, we need to give them the option to be able to bring us back the information to this table. Councillor Blatz?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I guess my question was going to be, administratively, this would be a nightmare to separate both residential and business. So we either have a supplementary assessment, or we don't. Bylaw, correct? Acting CEO Linderman?
Yeah, I'd have to look into legislation on that as to whether or not you can separate it.
Supplemental then, Your Worship. So again, I'm not opposed to business incentives, but it's not a tremendous amount of dollars. It appears that we're still getting businesses that wish to increase their businesses, improve their businesses. And again, I will reiterate, revenue is revenue. Where we can get revenue, I think we should. And I fully support a supplementary assessment bylaw myself.
I would like to see, let the council as a whole make their decision on giving third and final reading to this. The discussion is good around the table. However, I would like more detail from our administration brought back. However, you can vote in any manner you choose. So I will call now do we have a motion on the table? I'd ask for a motion on the table, please.
Your Worship, before we do that, I don't know the proper parliamentary procedure here, but I would like the vote recorded.
Just permission is all you need to do, so Councillor Cummings would like the vote recorded. Thank you very much. Councillor Daly?
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the supplementary assessment bylaw 2022-08 is given third and final reading.
Thank you, Councillor Daly. I will then ask for third and final reading. Those in favor? Those opposed? It's a tie vote, so it's defeated. Thank you. We are missing one councillor for our viewers. Councillor Ryan is not in attendance as of yet. She will be zooming in momentarily this afternoon. Item 5B, please. Page 13 of your agenda. And this is a bylaw 2022-11 amendment of the Mountain View County and the Town of Olds Intermunicipal Development Plan. Interim CEO.
So we have Craig Teal here today with PCPS to present this item.
Good afternoon, Mayor Dahl, members of council, administration. Can I ask I guess I could control that myself, can't I? Probably would have been faster, but we'll see. I think it's around 50. It's not around 50. I'm just going to bring up the map to speak to Your Worship as I go the wrong direction, I believe. There's one I wanted. Yeah, actually, there's one with the edits that I'm... Okay, almost there. There we go. And maybe we won't do that part. Sorry, Your Worship. So normally north is at the top of the page, but north is going to be to the left side of the screen for this time around, for fear of what the digital electronics are going to be doing. So the bylaw that's before council is to amend the IDP with Mountain View County. It was adopted in 2020 prior to the annexation that we recently had approval for. And the main crux of the changes is to go back and update the IDP with the county to reflect that the boundaries of the town have changed. And along the way, we're picking up 2 additional, more administrative changes that you can see in the text. If it feels like you read the document twice, you kind of did. There's one clean copy with all the changes that have been agreed to by the Intermunicipal Collaboration Committee and being recommended to you as town council, and also county staff will recommend the same text and changes to county council later on in the week at their meeting. And there's another copy there just to show a bold and strikeout so you can see the exact text and the changes that were made. So the map I brought up on the screen shows the annexation area. It's circled in red, those 3/4 sections. In the 2020 version, that was showing as an intent. We're now successful. So when you go to the revised map, which is on the next page, and it's a little cleaner in the other version, that gray boundary that is a town is now expanded into that area that has been annexed. The town's boundary has been wrapped around it. And because of the way the plan is structured, there's a blue dashed line that goes around the outer perimeter of the town as well, which formally says that the policies of this plan, other than the referral sections, don't really apply to the lands that are within the town boundary. They really apply to the lands in between the two blue dashed lines, mostly in Mountain View County's jurisdiction, and all geared towards what the town needs based on the municipal development plan, the planning that's been done to date, for future expansion beyond our next annexation, or whenever the timing is right for that next annexation. So in a nutshell, there's a series of amendments that go through the document to clean up the map and take out text references. There's a second change in the document that deals with the college. At the time, back in 2020, the two municipalities were agreed in their IDP to involve the college a little bit more in a formal relationship. And part of that was encouraging more interaction and encouraging the college to complete a campus master plan. Since the time the college has completed that, so it's just a verb change to now having gone from encouraging them to create a plan for the first time to now encourage them to keep that around and up to date as a tool so that they can use that as with interacting with the county and town to explain what's happening on their very substantial land holdings over time. The third change that we put in the plan is to a little bit of clarification on referrals. The county sends out referrals on various planning matters using a very broad buffer, 800 meters, compared to the town's buffer, which tends to be either adjacent or measured like 20 meters. What that means is when the county is dealing with an amendment close to the town boundaries and they call over for how to contact town landowners that are within that 800-meter buffer, it can be a large series of letters going out and quite an expense. So since September of 2020, this issue has come up about 3 times, and every time the consensus amounts of administration between the two CAOs has been that that seems a little bit much. Can we just do an advertisement in the paper? So we put some text in there to make it very clear that the town is okay with that if the county chooses to do that route. If it's the town, if we're the reverse situation, it would be much more administratively expedient and less expensive for us to do the handful of, say, a dozen letters max that would represent compared to, say, an advertisement in the paper. So that's the other change that's been added into the document that's before you. In terms of process, the draft text that you're looking at has been reviewed by, again, Intermunicipal Cooperation Committee. I'm going to get that right one day. I'm not sure which one we're formally going with, cooperation or collaboration. Both sound good. So that, in terms of the IDP, any changes are supposed to be vetted by that group on behalf of the two councils, and then it's their collective recommendation to take back to the two councils to recommend approval. Other times when we deal with intermunicipal development plans, we may be trying to arrange for a joint hearing. So it's very important that the county and town, for the plan to have effect, must adopt the exact same map, the exact same text. We have opted to go with separate public hearings for this process because they're relatively administrative in nature, which means town council will hold their own public hearing at May 25th, I believe is the date that I've suggested in the RFD, and give anyone an opportunity to come and speak to that public hearing. We'll then put it on pause, maybe after second reading, and give the county a chance to do their public hearing, which I believe will be Wednesday of that same week, I think on May 27th. We'll see if, oh, sorry, my mistake. Is it, I'm way off, okay. May 9th for our public hearing.
You've got a lot to deal with.
May 11th for their public hearing, 2 days later the same week, where they may or may not have people that come and speak to it. And then after that, before the two municipalities or councils go on to the third reading, there'll be kind of an exchange of notes to make sure we're not looking at amendments. And if we are looking at amendments, both groups have to look at the same amendments. And if the answer is yes, then we'll look at amendments. If the answer is no, then we'll proceed on with third reading. So it means it will come back to council 2 more times after today's session, Mayor Dahl. With that, I think I've covered everything other than getting the dates wrong. My apology for that, and happy to field any questions.
Apology necessary. All right, I'll open the floor then to council if they have any questions for Mr. Teal. Councillor Cummings?
Thank you, Mayor. So can we scroll down to page 51 of the agenda? Sorry, this part 7 there, right there. So this is what you were talking about here, about contacting the other, the town contacting county residents, the county contacting town representatives. There's just one thing that's kind of missing from this statement. I'm sure that it's done in practice, but is it actually in the plan here? And that's letting the other municipality know that they're doing it. It seems to me that that would be a normal thing, that if the town was going to be reaching out to community members of the county about something with regards to this, that they would let the county know they're doing that, and vice versa. So I'm wondering if that's something we should put in here? Or is, again, to me, I'd like to see things in writing rather than, oh, we do that, because it just means we don't have to do it. But I think it should be in there to do that, unless I'm missing something and I'm not seeing it somewhere else in the agreement.
Oops, as I keep pressing it wrong. I can't get rid of the blue. You have to put up with the blue, Mayor Dahl. So most of this section of the plan, referral and circulation process, is 100% about that. It's about the communication back and forth between the town and county. There was actually no clause about how we would interact with our landowners. And so that is what addresses the interaction back and forth. And more often than not, if you sent the subdivision referral to the town, because it's adjacent, then we'll know that you're expected to go on and contact the landowners. So I think we already have that covered in the first kind of 1 to 4 clauses in that section. It certainly doesn't mean that they can't, out of courtesy, let us know, and in any case, we'll see it in the paper if they choose to do that. If we're sending the letters out, we contact the county because we have to get the mailing addresses from them, from their administration. So usually there's that interaction between the planning departments to facilitate that. So I think between the clauses that are already in the document, with the circulations that are already supposed to go between the 2 municipalities, and this addition, we'll have it covered, Mayor Dahl.
Thank you very much for the explanation to the question. Any further questions? Seeing none, then I'd please ask for first reading on the table. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I would make the motion that council gives first reading to bylaw number 2022-11 and that council sets Monday. Oh, sorry.
We have first reading for 2022-11 on the floor from Councillor Wilson. I will now call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. And now to set the public hearing date of May 9th. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that council sets Monday, May 9th, 2022 at 1 p.m. in the council chambers as the date, time, and place for a public hearing on bylaw 2022-11.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. We will now move to page, what item are we on now? 56. If we can move down to page 56, thank you very much. And that item will be bylaw 2022-12, amendment to East Olds redevelopment plan and amendment to land use bylaw. First reading and public hearing. Interim CEO?
Mr. Teal will present these as well.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl, members of council. So these 2 bylaws have been prepared in response to a request and an application submitted by the registered property owner. The driving force behind the amendment is really to change the property from R1 to R2 to allow the construction of a duplex. The property is located in the East Olds Area Redevelopment Plan location, and it's important that any statutory plans and land use bylaw amendments or land use bylaw districting correspond or are consistent with one another, which is why the applicant had to also apply to amend the area redevelopment plan to move their land from low-density residential, which is for detached dwellings, to general residential, which would accommodate the request for the R2 zoning to allow a duplex to be developed on their property. The process for the landowner does entail the ability to put forward the applications and also come present to council at a public hearing. That includes the opportunity to hear any comments from any adjacent landowners who may be in favor or opposed, and to be able to respond to those. Your worship, the recommendation is to advance both bylaws to first reading and schedule a public hearing for Monday, May 9th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Teal. I would ask council if they have any questions prior to first reading to these bylaws. Councillor Cummings.
Hate to be the guy that asks all the questions. So, excuse me, something that confused me about this proposal is the lot and a half. How do you build a duplex on half a lot? I'm a little confused about that. Wouldn't that require a, and forgive me if I've forgotten the term here, splitting the property or adjoining the property or joining the property in some way? Because it just seems weird to be building a house on half a lot.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. So this is a graphic I think you're referring to, and unfortunately, in terms of the graphics, what you sometimes see in older parts of town is that the original lotting of 50-foot lots is what shows up graphically, and they still legally exist. So you can see there's one in the corner, there's one that's 50 feet kind of in the middle, the split, and then there's a neighbor has another 50-foot. Well, between the applicant and their neighbor to the west, there's what's called a description of title, a subdivision by, fortunately it's disappeared, we're not allowed to do them anymore. That literally describes the fact that the applicant owns the east 25 feet of the lot in the middle, and the other person on the west owns the west 25 feet of that lot in the middle, which is how on their title they literally have each a lot in half, which is a single legal entity, and that would require a formal subdivision process to then split it. So our 75-foot frontage that's owned by the applicant, if successful in these the applications before council, they have the then choice of either subdividing the property, assuming it's going to be smack dab right in the middle of this 75 feet, so 37 and a half either direction. It could be offset a little bit, they have that choice. Or they may apply for a development permit first and come back and subdivide it later on. So that is what you see happening on the in terms of the legal fabric. And yeah, sometimes it happens a lot in older parts of the town, anything prior to World War II, pretty much.
Thank you. That explains that.
Yes, that was a very good explanation. It definitely had to be a bigger duplex, for sure. Thank you. I see no further questions. I'd ask then for first reading on bylaw 2022-12, please. Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council gives first reading to bylaw number 2022-12.
Okay, those in favor? That is carried, thank you. And now I'm asking for first reading of bylaw number 2022-13. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move the council gives first reading to bylaw number 2022-13.
Once again, I'd ask those in favor? That is carried. We will be setting the public hearing dates for both bylaws through one motion. So I'm looking for motions for public hearing. Councillor Walsh? No, you don't use it often.
No. I move that council Monday, May 9th, 2022 at 1 p.m. in council chambers is the date, time, and place for a public hearing on bylaw number 2022-12 and 2022-13.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walsh. At this time, I would call for the vote for the public hearing dates. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Mr. Teal. Is that the end of your business here today? I thank you very much for traveling to Olds today. See you again. New business items at this time, page 62 of your agenda. 6A, Proclamation National Day of Mourning, April 28. Interim CAO.
Thank you. So on April 28th, people across Canada will recognize a day of mourning for all workers who have been killed, injured, or disabled at their workplace. In Alberta, 178 workers died in 2021 as a result of workplace injury or illness. Over the past, the town of Olds recognized a day of mourning to remember those losses.
Thank you very much. I would, at this time, ask for this proclamation to be put on the floor. Councillor Blatz, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that April 28th, 2022 be proclaimed as National Day of Mourning in the town of Olds, and I have a comment if I may.
Is any,
I noted that there is no attached proclamation to this, whereas the following two proclamations, we have actual proclamations attached.
thank you. We'll just double check that with our legislative clerk.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Blatz is correct. It isn't in there. It was not provided.
Okay, I'm certain that would be easy enough for us to find. And our legislation clerk will bring that to the attention of the writer. Thank you very much, Councillor Blatz, for that.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
further
you,
questions?
Legislative Clerk, as well.
Yes. Any further questions? I'll ask for the vote then. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item 6B, page 63. This proclamation is for Alberta Rural Health Week. And I'd ask for a motion to get that on the floor, please. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I would move that the week of May 30th to June 3rd, 2022 be proclaimed as Alberta Rural Health Week in the town of Olds.
Thank you. Just a question. Is there any reference to the April 11th, 2021 above in the header? Is that just a delete? This meeting, yes.
Yeah, they just have the wrong year.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Page 66, item 6C. And this proclamation is for the Hospice Palliative Care Week. I would ask for a motion to put this on the floor, please. Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council accepts the week of May 1st through 7th, 2022 be declared as Hospice Palliative Care Week in the town of Olds.
Thank you very much. And is there any questions? We have the right person to ask, sitting right over there with the President. Thank you very much. We do have Hospice Week coming, for sure. If there's no further questions, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Now, page 70 of your agenda, and that is item 6D, and I'll ask interim CEO to speak to this one.
At the October organizational meeting, Council Policies and Priors Committee meetings were changed to 10 a.m. After trialing this, administration would like to recommend a change back to the 1 p.m. meetings. This change would be effective for the May PMP and would then be reevaluated during the October organizational meeting again.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'd get a motion, please, on the floor for this. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that council change the start time of the Council Policies and Priorities Committee meetings to 1 p.m. and this time change will apply to the following 2022 Council Policies and Priority meeting dates: May 2nd, June 7th, Tuesday, July 4th, September 6th, Tuesday, and October 3rd.
Does council have any questions? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl, and maybe it's more of a comment, and as interim CEO Linderman indicated, this will become part of a discussion again at the org meeting in October, but I would just say I would like to see consideration given to perhaps holding either a council or a PMP meeting in the evening. I know the challenges that presents for staff attending and so on, and access to their expertise and services and the costs involved, but it would be nice out of all the meetings we have, the two council meetings and a PMP meeting, to try and at least accommodate an evening meeting somewhere so that folks can perhaps attend live or make it easier if they're going to have delegations. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, and I do believe we have the option at our organizational meeting to change that, and we'll revisit that conversation at that time. Thank you. Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Now we are moving to page 71, which is item 6E, and this will be our budget portion. I turn this over to our CAO, interim CAO.
Thank you, and I'm just going to look at the legislative clerk. No for Councilor Wright? Okay. All right, so we'll get right into it. So the 2022 operating budget was presented in detail at last Monday's Policies and Priorities meeting. The budget that was presented had a deficit of $450,491. The budget being presented today is a balanced budget. The changes made to the originally presented budget in order to balance were a reduction to the strategic planning budget line item, a reduction to the fire promotions and public relations line item, a reduction to the tree replacement line item, funding the council laptop allowance from reserves. This will be paid back with the savings realized on the printing costs over a 3-year period. Changes that were listed in the RFD to the economic development area, a 2% tax rate increase, and then finally a transfer from the tax stabilization reserve of $162,793. I will now open it up to council for any questions on this.
Thank you. We've had lots of opportunity to review these items. However, this is your final opportunity to bring any further questions you have for our interim CAO. So I open the floor to council and or your staff if they have any questions. You've done a very good job of training us well to answer and ask questions. Thank you. And how about your staff? No questions? All right. If I'm hearing nothing from the floor, I'm going to ask, please, to have a motion put on the floor for the 2022 operating budget to be approved as presented. We'll do two portions of the budget motions. We'll have the first one and a separate one for the second one, because they're both different dollars. Sorry, go ahead, interim CAO.
I'd like to speak to the capital after the operating is passed.
That's very good. So the first motion on the floor, Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the 2022 operating budget in the amount of $31,742,919 be approved as presented.
Questions from the floor at this time? Seeing none, we will vote on the motion. Those in favor? That is carried. Interim CAO?
Thank you. So now we'll move to the capital budget. The capital budget being presented today is $6,688,962. There have been a few changes since it was presented last Monday. So there has been the deletion of the facility signage at both the admin building and the ops center. We had spoke briefly about it last Monday, and those projects had not been started, so I did remove them. There's also been an emergent item that has been added. It has come to our attention that there are 2 backstops at Rotary Athletic Park that pose a significant safety risk. These are the 2 taller baseball backstops on diamonds 2 and 3. With the height of the backstop and the weight of the mesh, there is metal fatigue happening. There are concerns that these backstops could come down. So we've added $35,000 to this budget to repair those backstops. Unfortunately, we are past the warranty period at the park, but we are looking into the engineering and approval process that took place for these backstops.
Questions from the floor? I'm sure you've done all your due diligence and we can move forward with this. There's only so much you could do. The past sometimes brings surprises to us. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl, and it is what it is as far as emergent repairs and backstops, but the Rotary Park's only been in use for 1 year. Is that correct?
In use, correct. But I believe it was completed 2 years ago.
We certainly,
Sorry, I hope the repairs will last longer, the replacement and repair will last longer than kind of 1 year of summer usage, so.
We will ensure that the repairs are done correctly, for sure.
then we will also ensure that our community, we have the health and well-being and the safety of our community first. Okay. Do you have further to add? Okay. That's the information for the option for the second motion, please, which I'd ask for. Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, I move that council approves the adjustments to the 2022 approved capital budget in the amount of $2,869,462 for a total 2022 capital budget of $6,688,962 as presented.
Any final questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. I'd just like to thank our interim CAO and her staff for the long hours that they put in to present this to council, and all of council for their time and effort to ask the many questions we did and get the answers from our staff. So thank you very much. Moving down now to page 117 in our agenda. And that would be bylaw 2022-09 tax rate bylaw. Interim CAO.
So the tax rate bylaw 2022-09 is being presented today for first reading. The total taxable assessment for the town of Olds is up $37,344,600. The average residential assessment is up 2.5% to $316,298. And the average non-residential property is up 0.6% to $915,490. With a 2% tax rate increase and the assessment increase, the average residential home will see an increase of $84 to the municipal portion of their taxes. The average non-residential property will see an increase of $196. The municipality is also responsible for collecting and remitting the provincial education school tax. We have no choice but to pass this tax on to our residents. The province sends us the amount to requisition, we collect it and remit it back to the province. This requisition is up 4.09% overall. The average residential properties portion of this requisition is up 7.01% or $56. The non-residential portion of this requisition has decreased by 3.6% or $131. Along with the education tax, the municipality also collects and remits for seniors housing. The Mountain View Seniors Housing requisition has decreased by 2.59%. The average residential property will see a decrease of $3, and the average non-residential property will see a decrease of $16. Overall, with the three of these together, the average residential home will see an increase of $137, and the average non-residential property will see an increase of $49. And I will just add, with the changes we made to the supplementary tax, we will have to modify or amend this bylaw, so if it does pass, there are a few amendments that need to be made, just removing any reference to supplementary assessment.
Yes, and I'd also like to ask that, I note that this states that you're looking only for first reading on here. Is that, typically we go for all three readings, or do you want just first reading?
We have in the past gone for all three, but I thought it would be nice to do first reading, and then I will bring it back on the 25th for the second and third.
And in this case, being that the past was defeated, it gives you more time to. All right, thank you very much. Does council have questions for our interim CAO? Then I would ask for first reading, please. Councillor Blatz. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I would make the motion that the tax rate bylaw 2022-09 is given first reading.
No further questions? Interim CAO, okay. Thank you. Councillor Cummings.
Should it not be as amended?
It absolutely should be as amended. Friendly amendment. All right, now I will call for the vote. Those in favor? Everybody okay over there? You're good, Wanda? Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's carried, thank you. All right, we will move down to item 7. We have no reports at this time, and no quarterly reports for item 8, and item 9 is found on page 123, and this is correspondence and information. I'd ask for a motion to get the correspondence on the floor, please. Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, I'd like to move that the correspondence and information report ending April 11th, 2022 be received for information.
Thank you. And if there's no questions then, I will call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will be going into a closed portion of our agenda at this time. And would council like a recess prior to moving into closed, or shall we just move forward? We'll move forward. Very good. Thank you, Doug, for your attendance today. I will ask for the motion to move into the closed session. And interim CEO, who would you like to stay with us?
I would like the entire executive to stay.
Would you like?
Yes, communications and legislative.
Okay, thank you. Nobody gets to run away. And did you hand your, have your? Like to make that motion. Councillor Cummings?
Thank you. I'll move that we go into a closed section under FOIP Section 25, disclosure harmful to the economic and other interests of a public body, with the council, the executive team, communications coordinator, and the legislative clerk in attendance.
Any further questions? Those in favor? That is carried. This meeting is going into a closed session under FOIP Section 25. For those of you joining us via live streaming, the meeting stream will be replaced by a graph. The social media feeds can also be found at the bottom of the homepage on the Town of Olds website.
Why plus up your Wi-Fi with Wi-Fi Plus? Because it's designed for hardworking people like you who need the ultimate Wi-Fi experience for their home and their home office. Plus, custom installation for coverage in the attic when life gets in the way of work. Plus, dedicated expert support for when work gets in the way of life.
Hi, this is TELUS calling. How can we help?
Plus, premium network protection for all your connected devices.
Mommy, can I go on my tablet?
Plus up your Wi-Fi today for just $10 a month when you switch to Pure Fiber. Only from TELUS. Learn more at TELUS.com/plus. Conditions apply.
There's nothing wrong with getting excited for a long-awaited feast with friends. But if you get a little carried away, Pepto-Bismol Liquid Caps is your handy on-the-go pack that offers fast, soothing relief for upset stomachs, so you can continue with your day worry-free. Get effective relief with Pepto-Bismol Liquid Caps. To ensure this product is right for you, always read and follow the label. Keep out of the reach of children.
Did you know you can find your favorite artist's concerts on Spotify? Tap the button to see a list of upcoming, personalized live and virtual events just for you.
Buick Encore GX makes life too easy with so many standard features like front pedestrian braking, following distance indicator, lane keep assist with lane departure warning, Sirius XM radio, Buick infotainment system, remote vehicle starter system, quiet tuning technology, and forward collision alert. Plus, available head-up display, leather-appointed seats, panoramic moonroof, all-wheel drive, hands-free power liftgate, HD surround vision, rear cross-traffic alert, adaptive cruise control, and rear camera mirror. That wasn't easy. The Buick Encore GX. Visit Buick.ca for more information.
Unlimited.
With family, duo, individual, and student plans, there's a whole world of premium waiting. Get a family plan and add up to 6 accounts under one roof. Join Duo with one other listener. Treat yourself with the individual plan or get a discounted rate if you're a student. Upgrade to premium to unlock 1 month free. Tap the banner to learn more.
Welcome back, and thank you all for waiting and your patience. We will now have a rise and report resolution, and I will call on Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that council accepts the ICC report as presented and directs administration to move forward with the Mountain View County continuing with conversations around the fire services sub-agreement.
I would like to just add that for those of you in the audience that don't understand acronyms, that is the Intermunicipal Cooperation Committee. And thank you for that motion, Councillor Blatz. Any further questions? I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. I'd like to thank you all for being with us today, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Daly.
Can we help?
Plus,
Thank
premium
you,
network
Your Worship. I move that we adjourn our meeting. Oh, the monitor's off.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you.